If you're scared to do your taxes because you think you might owe Uncle Sam, Al Wagner from Trinity Tax is here with how to possibly avoid a tax audit and what you can do if you owe some money. And Al, we were talking just before this segment. This is really good information because I think a lot of people are nervous about the prospect of being audited at some point.
Exactly.
And you were saying roughly 1.5% of people every year are audited, correct?
It's about a 1% chance, 1.5% chance you'll be audited.
So you just have to be unlucky.
Right. Well, the odds are going down because there's a hiring freeze.
Okay.
And people at the IRS are retiring, and they're not being replaced.
Yeah.
So there's less auditors, which lowers your chances even more.
Now you're really unlikely if you get audited.
Exactly.
So what are some things then you can do to reduce your chances of being audited? What are red flags for the IRS?
Well, there's several red flags just off the top of my head. One would be donations to charity. If it's more than 12% of your income, then that seems kind of high to the IRS. So that would usually trigger a letter.
Okay.
Or if you have employee business expenses that exceed, 10 to 15% of your income, then that may trigger an audit. Or business miles, over 20,000 miles a year. So if you're driving for business and it's more than 20,000 miles, when are you working? Right?
Unless your car is your office and you're just on the phone all the time. What are some things you can do? Okay, let's say you get that letter, you're going to be audited. What are some of the first things you should do?
Well, the first thing you should do is find out just exactly what they're asking for and what they want, okay? And would highly recommend hiring somebody to represent you because they know the rules more than you do. The IRS does, and if you hire somebody that knows the rules, that gives you a better chance of getting a fair deal.
Right.
Okay.
And people can come to you for that sort of thing?
Yeah, we do a lot of audits.
Yeah, and unhappy people most of the time, I would imagine.
Well, it actually, it's the same thing. Well, I wrote down too much in mileage or whatever. As long as we can prove everything, it's all good.
So once you filled out your taxes, let's say you owe some money, and some people, I have some friends right now in this situation where they realize, wow, they owe more than they have in the bank.
Exactly. Now, that's the stressful part, because a lot of people think, well, I got to pay the whole thing by April 15th. Well, you should if you've got it, because there's a penalty if you don't.
Yeah.
But they will accept a payment plan, and they'll spread that balance out over 72 months, so it's affordable. And the reason you spread it over 72 months is it's a small enough payment where you can pay extra to pay the whole thing off faster. But that way you won't default. Then have to start.
Do you have to owe a certain amount to qualify for that, or is it just anybody? Let's say you owe $1,500 and you don't have that.
Then you just $1,500, put it on a payment plan, but they will charge you $184 to do it.
Just to set it up.
$184 setup fee.
Okay.
Which is, if you don't have the money.
Yeah, that's.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes, that is the irony of it all. That is the conundrum.
Yes, it is.
Al, thanks so much. Great tips, and people can get more information by doing what?
They go to Las Vegas now.
And you can go to trinitytaxlv.com.
Yes, trinitytaxlv.com.
And that number on your screen, we do have it on lasvegasnow.com and a link to that. So 702-761-6550. Al Wagner, thanks so much for joining us today.
Fantastic, thank you.
Lindsay.